Vote a dada. Vote a dada. The time has come for women leadership to rise. Women from the national and county levels. Young, old, minority and marginalized women. Women with disabilities. Women in the grassroots. Wakati ni sasa. Kauli ni moja. Vote a dada. Tuungane pamoja. Kauli mbiu moja. Wakati ni sasa. Vote a dada. Tuungane pamoja. Kauli mbiu moja. Wakati ni sasa. Vote a dada. Mama msilale. Wakati wetu umefika. Wanawake msilale. Vote a dada. Vijana msilale. Wakati wetu umefika. Wakenya msilale. Vote a dada. Katika uchaguzi, katika uongozi, wakati ni sasa. Vote a dada. Katika uchaguzi, katika uongozi, wakati ni sasa. Vote a dada. Mama msilale. Wakati wetu umefika. Wanawake msilale. Vote a dada. Vijana msilale. Wakati wetu umefika. Wakenya msilale. Vote a dada. Wilayani, mashinani, hapa mjini. Vote a dada. Wilayani, mashinani, hapa mjini. Vote a dada. Mama msilale. Wakati wetu umefika. Wanawake msilale. Vote a dada. Vijana msilale. Wakati wetu umefika. Wakenya msilale. Vote a dada. 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 Mama msilale. Wakati wetu umefika. Wanawake msilale. Vote a dada. Vijana msilale. Wakati wetu umefika. Wakenya msilale. Vote a dada. Wilayani. Vote a dada. Mashinani.
All I know is vote a dada. That's the one I know. I'm running with that. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. If you don't remember anything else, remember that vote a dada part. I'll ask us to take our seats, please, and ready ourselves for our next session. Welcome back if you are at the regions. Excuse me a minute. Our next session is on the role of civil society in free and fair elections and the participation of special interest groups in the process. I'll tell you a very short story. Short story on observing elections. This was the very first election where I've ever heard of an observer group that was observing the elections virtually. I don't know if anyone has ever had the opportunity to observe a general election virtually. Just FYI, I thought it was very innovative, incidentally, until the government shut down the internet. What is the role of civil society in free and fair elections and the participation of special interest groups in the process? Taking us through this once again is Justice Violet Mavisi. Thank you so much. Judge, you've outdone yourself really. I think she deserves her own round of applause. And she in turn will invite each of the speakers. For this, we will have an hour of conversation. No, I beg your pardon. No, it's not. It's actually slated for 40 minutes, so it should be a very interesting one. Justice, please take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think it's already the afternoon. Good afternoon. We have 3 speakers for this session on the role of civil society in free and fair elections and participation of special interest groups in the process. And we have 1 speaker who will be joining us virtually. So we have Medina Mohammed. Medina Mohammed, are you here? Could you please come up and please, why don't we appreciate her when she's coming up? And Medina Mohammed is a program manager in charge of human rights and governance and peace and cohesion programs. Before joining at the Center for Community Development and Human Rights. Before joining the center, she was a program officer at the Office of the Member of Parliament, Kibra constituency. She was also in charge of Kenya Parliamentary Caucus on Human Rights, where she was responsible for CSO's caucus linkages and administrative duties at the caucus. Her passion for social change has seen her actively participate in and work closely with Parliamentary Caucus on Sustainable Development Goals, SGD. In addition, Medina has extensive experience in program administration and finance, having worked at the Kenya Commercial Bank for more than a decade. Medina is passionate and deeply committed to human rights, governance, gender issues, and social change. Please appreciate her once again. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. We also have Sefu Sani, who is the chairperson of CPK Women League, World March on Women. Sefu? Please join us. As she comes, Sefu is a gender and human rights activist, an artist, and a budding politician. Being very passionate about the rights of women and girls, she convinced the Women League of the Communist Party of Kenya that fights to eradicate the factors affecting women in Kenya, such as patriarchy, oppression, exploitation, and class. She's also an ardent member of the World March of Women, which is a feminist organization advocating for gender equality and uplifting of grassroots women and youth representatives for Africa in the CMS, which is the UN advocacy for food sovereignty based in Italy. Currently, she's undertaking a course at the Nkrumah School in South Africa on political economy. At around age 16, she won the Prize of Peace from the Universal Peace Federation through creative arts and was given the honor to be a junior ambassador of peace. I think you should appreciate that. We said we must appreciate the milestones we make in our lives, isn't it? She was also the ambassador at the 2009 Model United Nations that advocates for human and gender rights in Africa. She's also a musician. Yeah, you'll sing for us today. A singer, a songwriter, and has harnessed this talent to do songs highlighting gender advocacy, governance, and human rights, such as the theme song, Voter Dada. She sang for us yesterday. Beautiful voice, 2021-2022 song in Katiba. 2021-2022. She did a song in Katiba in 2020, Katiba at 10, and about electoral reforms in Africa in collaboration with Brenhurst Foundation, among others. She has done songs for AB album, dubbed Songs of Revolution, oh my goodness, okay, that touch on issues of women's rights, Pan-Africanism, feminism, and political ideology and struggle of Kenya. She also sings and is a leader of a choir. Please appreciate her. I didn't know about these other, political and revolution songs. I would like to hear those ones. That would be a good good place to start. The third person we're having joining us virtually is Ms. Jane Kihungi, who is the current director of Women Challenge to Challenge, based in Nairobi. And WCC is an organization of women with disabilities whose main aim is to advocate for the rights of women and girls with disabilities. Jen champions the right for inclusion of women and girls with disability in all spheres of development. So thank you very much, and please appreciate Jen for joining us. I will start off with Jen. I'm hoping you can hear us. And my question, because we're talking, is what is the role of civil society? We're looking at what is the role of civil society in free and fair elections and participation of special interest group. My question to you is this: what role can community-based organizations, and we're talking about grassroots women organizations, play to increase and enhance the participation of women, youth, persons with disability, and other minority groups in the electoral process as voters and aspirants? What role can community-based organizations play?
Thank you, Chair of the session, and first, thank you to FIDA for organizing this conference and bringing women of all diversities together to be able to talk about their representation. Can you hear me? Can I be heard?
Yes. We can hear you.
Hearing me? Okay. So there's a lot that civil societies can do, or grassroots organizations can do to ensure that women and, or rather persons with disabilities are fully represented. Currently, we have a concern because 2017 election, 17 county assemblies did not nominate any single person with a disability. 8 of them have won each. The rest, nothing. And you can see maybe even the 8 are mostly men. I can assure you that. So there is, from that point of view, there is a lot that needs to be done. And as an organization of women with disabilities, we have taken a step to be able to strengthen capacity of women with disabilities, encourage them to come out as voters, as people who can be voted for. I mean, to seek those elective positions, be nominated, be appointed into different positions. And going forward to 2022, then we want to see more women with disabilities coming out. But then they need to be supported. Why? Because as the previous panel, they were talking about money. Women with disabilities do not have masses of money, neither the support. But that does not make them not to come out. We are still encouraging them to do that so that together can see that we increase the participation of women with disabilities as the Constitution provides. So therefore, as we work together maybe with FIDA and other organizations that really supports the right of women in this country, we need to ensure that we are embracing inclusiveness, we are embracing equity, fairness, and therefore we have to have everybody on board. No one should be left behind. And that is our call as we move forward to ensure that we are not leaving any section of this country behind when it comes to representation. And the barriers that are there, gender-based violence that really women with disabilities sometimes fear, because when it erupts, there is that violence. Some will not be able to run, some will not even see because they are blind, some will not even hear. So really, there are a lot of things that we need to address as a society, as organizations. And so because this cannot be done by the women with disabilities themselves, we need support of each other in this country. So we are calling upon the political parties, the electoral bodies to come and support the representation of persons with disabilities. And from the point I see it, women with disabilities who are not really visible, because their issues falls through the cracks of women who have no disabilities, through the cracks of persons with disabilities organizations, because in these organizations, men have more voice. So really we need to be understood as, yes, I'm a woman, and any other woman can represent me. But again, I have special needs, specific needs that really needs to be brought to the table. And unless it is I myself the wearer of the shoe brings them, then they will never be understood, they will never be addressed.
Thank you very much, Jane.
Really, we need to come together and do all those things together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane, because you're telling us we need to collaborate, and we know that the Constitution also provides for the participation of persons with disability in governance. So you're saying we need to collaborate with other organizations which are around, and we need to support each other. Now, Safu, I want to ask you a question, and in 5 minutes, and also being a member of, you said you're a member of a political party?
I am.
You are. And also you participate on the other side with civil society organizations.
Yes.
How prepared are civil society organizations? How prepared are they to enhance that participation of women? Already we are being told from the point of view of persons with disability, we need to collaborate. So how prepared are civil organizations to ensure that women participate in politics and governance?
Thank you very much.
5 minutes.
Yes. I will start first by saying that to wish all of us a happy Katiba Day. Today is the 27th of August, in which we celebrate our Constitution at 11 years old. And I would dare say that we are in the era of the fourth liberation. The first liberation being the independence we got in 1963, and the second one being the repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution in 1992, which gave room for democracy in the country. The third one being the promulgation of the Constitution in 2010, which was an important milestone for our country. And now the era we are in, which is the fourth liberation of our country, Kenya. And about our Constitution, which guides us. It's a guide, rules and regulations for our country. We have certain clauses. And the biggest issue with the Constitution has been the implementation, because it has been touted as one of the most progressive in the world. When we talk about civil societies and their preparedness in bringing women to the table, we see Article 27 of the Constitution, which speaks on gender equality, and also Article 54, which speaks about inclusion of minority groups. And when we look at that in the civil societies, first of all, we can see an event like this for Voter Dada, which seeks to bring out women aspirants and leaders from different parts of the country to come together and participate in governance and democracy. I think, one, that is a milestone. Two, I think the civil societies are very involved, for example, in the community-based organizations, to be able to mobilize the women and mobilize the youth and the marginalized women even to come out and vote and have themselves represented at the ballot, but not just as voters, but also as aspirants in the elections. Then they're able to bring about a change. And when we look at this, I'm sure from the panelist that was here before, from the lady, she spoke about the issue of women, but not just women. She spoke about young women, not just young women. She spoke about marginalized women. And another issue that I think should be touched on is an issue of the resources, which now brings in the issue of class and the class struggle of the women. And I think we cannot separate that characteristic from this. And more than that, also the issue of the working class and poor women is something that I think should be included in the preparedness of the civil societies, in including women in political activities and in governance issues. Thank you.
Sophie, thank you very much. I'm hoping, as you're telling us the civil society are prepared, you already have the finances and you're already running to prepare women for the 2022 elections.
No, what I'm saying is that there is a step that has been taken, but more could be done. And what is that more that needs to be done? That is why I'm highlighting what more needs to be done when we talk about the issue of marginalized women, when you talk about the issue of young women, when you talk about the issue of women with disabilities, but also when we bring in the issue of resources, which now brings about an issue of class and the class struggle of women in community-based organizations to be able to come into the struggle. And I think that that is something that civil society organizations could really look into in their preparedness and inclusivity in governance. But I'm saying we made a step, for example, in this conference of voter data. It's a step in that direction.
So thank you very much. You're acknowledging we are starting. We are still on a journey.
Yes.
We haven't reached there yet. Madina.
Yes, Justice.
I've seen you've been able to work with parliamentarians. You've worked with a member of parliament. And I'm just, what we're asking ourselves is this. Are we really clear as civil society on our role for the demand side, issues of accountability? Because the whole issue from yesterday to today, there is issues of accountability in terms of financing, in terms of violence, in terms of participation in political parties, all that. Are we really able to demand for that accountability? And are we succeeding? As more and more organizations come up to demand for accountability, are we succeeding? And are our approaches really going to make us succeed, or do we need to change our strategies as we move forward, seeking for accountability for that participation of women?
Thank you, Justice, and thank you, FIDA, for convening this conference. Short answer is no, we're not succeeding. The most basic accountability issue we have in inclusion of women is the 2/3 gender rule. We see how we've struggled for years and we're still struggling. So I think we need to come together more, demand more. Parliamentarians need to take action. We keep, I know civil society has done their part, convening them, telling them about this and taking them away even for weekends and things like that, but they're not passing this bill. We need to know why, from a parliamentarian if they're here, and what more can we do? I think we have a lot more to do. Yeah.
We have a lot more to do, and I think we need to hear more from the two of you. What is that more that we need to do? Having said that, do we have any questions in the room? I'll actually skip you if you are in the room and you have a question, and I want to go to the satellites because I think in the last session we did not give them an opportunity to ask a question, and I think this is the time. Let's give them the opportunity, then we will come back to this room. As we ask, is there more that we need to do as civil societies? Which region is ready? Okay. As we wait for their hands, is there any question from the room? Yes? Yes? Somebody please give him a mic. Is there anybody else with a question? Okay, then we'll come that side.
Mine is not actually a question, but a comment based on the KNCHR reports for the CSOs. I'll just pick two. One, that as civil society organizations, there's need to have a deliberate projects or programs that will ensure that proper documentation and preservation of evidence, so that if we are to seek, redress, for the violations, without evidence, it will be impossible. Therefore, for me, that especially the civil society institutions which are working at the grassroots need to have, that deliberate mechanism. The second one is that from 2007, 2012, 2013, up to 2017, so many survivors, and there's need, for the CSOs also to work towards, the establishment of networks for survivors and such. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, which region? We'll come back to you, my dear. Just hold on. Kisumu, are you ready? And please ask the question, direct, and tell us whom you're directing to. Whether it's a question or a comment, it's welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Salim. My name is Farida Salim from Kisumu, and my question or observation is general to all the panelists. Now, when it comes to the society in ensuring free and fair elections, and specifically my concern touches on participation of special interest groups in the process. The reality of the matter is that special interest groups are highly disadvantaged. And if you look at now the COVID pandemic period, it's not going to be easy. And so I would like to hear hands-on strategies that the special interest groups, and when I say that, I mean the women, and like myself, I come from the marginalized community, the youth, persons with disability, practical hands-on moving forward, because the clock is ticking and free and fair elections is never a reality until now. And so, how do we motivate the people who are coming from these interest groups to come out strongly and contest for whatever position that they wish to go for?
Thank you very much. You are asking us for practical strategies to move forward. I think some of them have been given by our colleague there, but practical strategies. Any other area? Meru, please.
I'm Gabriela Lorere from Samburu County. My question is, as an organization, we have been advocating for more women in leadership positions. Then my question is, most are from marginalized communities. Where can the young women get funding for their campaign, since it is very expensive and they're from marginalized communities in Samburu County?
Thank you very much. Funding. Any other area that we have a question? Bungoma.
Sologi. Mine is directed to Madina Mohammed. I just want her, at least, we know they've been working with the women in the villages as in the NGOs. Now that women, like most of us who are aspiring, can they divert those NGOs to help the women financially or with the materials when it comes to campaign time? And the other one, to the previous presenters, I don't have a question to them, but just to add something on top. There is one Mr. Owino who said, who was Odote, he talked so well and I was so impressed. Now, what I just want to add on top of what he said, that as we deal with Wananchi direct from grassroots, what we want them, Wananchi, to know is that civic education is needed so much to these people, because money and politics go hand in hand. So for Wananchi, for us to get good leaders, civic education is needed mostly. And lastly, to you, Emcee, yes, you had said that let us fund us who are in the, we are in the pandemic season. How are we planning to do our campaigns? To me, I'm planning to do a door-to-door campaign if the pandemic persists. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Emcee. Your question has been answered. One of the things that has come out is that NGOs need to divert their resources, and they need to go to the grassroots. That is one thing that has come out clearly, and we want practical strategies. So, is there another region before I ask the room? There's the lady, please. Let her ask her question first.
Yes.
Thank you very much. This is Juliana from Uraia Trust. Quite an interesting conversation we are having right now. And one thing that we need to appreciate as civil society organizations is that we need to look at the roles that we are playing, that is pre-election, during the election, and post the election. And this basically comes with the voter education that one of the previous speakers has just talked about. And we need to be considering how can we tailor-make the voter education to support the local people or the local communities to ensure that there's inclusion of the marginalized groups like the women. And my biggest issue here has been, in most cases, the civil society organizations seem to be working as individual entities. How can we now plan together to have a common voice, to push for a common agenda? This is pre, during, and post-election. We have seen so many issues that need to be addressed, like the political party conflicts, election rigging. How can we address this? And the second question is, how really are we prepared? Do we have the resources to support our people? Do we have the resources to tell people that they need to vote credibly, that they need to vote not guided by money? For me, actually, I'm not so much interested with the political financing. I'm looking at how can our citizens vote without being influenced by money. So that's the role we should be taking as civil society organization. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. From Uraia Trust, tell us, do we have the funding and the resources to start? Are we ready to actually start that?
Oh, should I respond to that?
Respond to that.
Well.
Do we have the resources? Are we ready? Are we prepared? From where you sit in Uraia Trust, which brings together?
Well, for Uraia Trust, we of course we played a key role in providing voter education. We're not losing this at this point because we know we are geared towards the next elections. We could be organized something small. We don't want to lose that. But well, the opportunity for partnerships and more resource mobilization together will go a long way to reaching large numbers, because I know we could still be constrained, considering that civil society organizations purely rely on donor funding. But if we pull together as all the civil society organizations, then we would go a long way in addressing these issues. And then there is that specific element of different civil society organizations are addressing different needs at the election cycle. There are those who are strong at providing the voter education. That would be great. There are those who are strong at providing election observation. That would be great if they get the funding for them to be in a position to provide good evidence in cases whereby we have election conflict. And then there are those who are good at the end of the elections. There are people who are now left struggling, like the women. After election is over, most of the women will be left wounded. Some of them will be divorced. How do we provide a space for these women to be in a position now to settle back to these communities?
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
You said we had which last place? Nakuru, please. Pardon? Nakuru? Afternoon.
Election campaign apps seem to be dealing so much on the finances of the candidates. My question would be, who is responsible in capacity building the voter to understand that the more the candidate is going to give, if they win, is the more they'll take from them their development money. Who is responsible in doing that?
Thank you very much. Okay, so for the panelists, as you answer these questions, and please, as you answer, please make your final remarks. One of the things we have been urged is that we actually work in silos. We are not working together, we are not networking, we are not supporting each other, we are not collaborating and all that. Those are the issues that have come up. So as you answer the questions, please also remember the issues of the special interest groups, and please remember the whole question about civic education and how to play our role more effectively. So Madina, please start.
Thank you. So I'll start with the survivors network issue. There's a survivors network, and there's CSOs that are working in collaboration with the survivors to try and get justice from the 2007 post-election violence and sexual violence, especially. For the funding of the marginalized, the center where I work is privileged to work with FIDA Kenya. So we are the grassroots in Nairobi for not only us, but one of the ones. We're on the grassroots on their behalf. So I know with Voter Dada, they will try and solve that issue of finances, not necessarily money, maybe material, maybe t-shirts, lassos, whatever they need. But also what we're trying to do with our people on the ground is try to educate them, civic education, and tell them, you know what, you need to vote for people, issue-based. Don't look at the money, don't look at the handouts. That's how we'll try and approach that. For the marginalized groups, again, we can only capacity build you, give you civic education. We don't have, I don't think anyone, Raya has said they may have funds. I'm not sure if it's going to be cash again. It might be materials, it might be in kind. So that would go a long way in helping the women. In Kibra, for example, we have the Nubians. And it's hard for them to get IDs. That means you can't vote or you can't be an aspirant. So we're also trying to remove that statelessness from them so that they're able to get IDs in time to vote and in time to be aspirants. I don't know if there's anything I've missed out, but my parting shot would be that the aspirants that are in this room or in our regions, please join the FIDA Leadership Academy. That will give you milestones. You'll be ahead of the pack. Yeah.
I'd first start by responding by the issue that the civil society organizations are working in silence. What I'd like to say about the matter is that in the first place, we have different and a myriad of civil society organizations, and it's not in all cases that the civil society organizations can come and work together because they represent and advocate for different issues. In matters where they can come together on issues, then that's fine, they can agree on it. But the fact that they are working on their different issues and they're able to articulate them in their areas, I think they can continue to work on their different issues so long as the issues are addressed. Another issue that has come up very much is the issue of resources and funding that has come from Samburu, has come from Kisumu as well, and also the issue of the marginalized women and how do we bring these women up and the solutions that are, solutions at hand. And I think one of our guests here gave some of the solutions previously. But one thing I would like to say is that for the civil societies to come up with programs which are taken to the grassroots level, that is for inclusivity, to include the women in the governance, and to let them know of these programs and also to recruit them in these programs. Another thing that has been spoken about, of course, is the issue of civic education, which I think is something that needs to happen pre-election and not just something we think of a year to the elections, but something that should be happening, should be ongoing throughout. But another thing that also affects us as Kenyans is the issue of political ideology, because when we look at most of the political parties, then there's no really concrete ideology. It's just maybe the issue of voter bribery, ganging up on tribal politics. So I think that's also an issue where we need political ideology, even us as civil societies and organizations and the citizens as well, to be able to know what is it that we are demanding from, what social amenities do we need. We are the people in power, and we have the power to remove or to have the leadership that we have. For example, the COVID-19 issue that has come up, where one of the lady participants in Kisumu is talking about how do people vie even during this time of COVID-19. And one of the issues of COVID-19 is, for example, right now our government should have provided, a cushion for the people who lost their jobs or Yes, they should have. But that is something that has not happened to all the millions of, for example, people in the hospitality and entertainment industry. But you see, it's not something that we as Kenyans are talking about, or we as Kenyans are demanding about, because in the first place, we don't even know what our rights are. We don't even know what it is that we deserve or what we want politically. So that comes to my point of political ideology, but also civil education that is ongoing, even to us who feel that, we know so much. And also, in Kenya, there's also the issue of, I think, social media advocacy or activism, where we have Kenyans on Twitter who go and rant about a lot of issues, maybe social, political, that are happening in the country, but we are not addressing these issues on the ground. And I think maybe that is one of the ways that we as Kenyans can become aware and become conscious, and then become the change that we need. Another thing, the civil societies can come in through the myriads of litigation processes that we have that surround the electoral processes, and to just ensure that the processes themselves are free and fair. But we are not just talking about free and fair elections today. We're talking about free, fair, and inclusive elections. Inclusive elections that include women participation, that include the marginalized, that includes people with disabilities and people at the grassroots. And I think yesterday when we had the registrar of the political parties, one of the things that came out so strongly was the issue of the demographics, or the representation of women in political parties, for example. And I think we only have about 7%.
You don't have much in terms of political representation and even
Yes.
voter.
Yeah.
So what would be your parting shot in 1 minute? 1 second parting shot?
My parting shot would be that for us as Kenyans, we need political ideology, and we need to have gender inclusivity. The women agenda is something that we should really look into, but not just the women agenda as a monolithic issue, but we work hand in hand with our men as well.
Thank you very much. I think we need to appreciate our panelists and for just taking us through so well. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry, I'd forgotten. There was Kihengu online. Do you have any issue to just a parting shot? Please give your parting shot. Can't hear her. Please unmute yourself. Unmute. And just take a second, please, to give your parting shot.
Okay. Now, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my parting shot will be just answering the question from Kisumu, the practical strategies that are being put in place. And I would say, as an organization, we have started this early to mobilize women with disabilities. We are conducting civic education in 24 counties, where we are encouraging them now to start preparing their minds to give in themselves for election, either as voters or people to be voted in. So, and we're also running media campaigns in the local medias, where again we are calling the communities to be able to support women with disabilities to come out as leaders. So, and then at the end of the year, we hope to come up with a kind of a network of women with disabilities who are aspirants in 2022 elections. Then we are also encouraging them to join other organizations that are really supporting women, join the FIDA Academy, and also join the political parties, because that is where they will see themselves going through the elective processes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate the panelists. And one thing that has come out is that we need to work together. We need to network. We do not need to duplicate some of the efforts in the areas we are working in. And with that, we can make a great impact in terms of preparing women for the next general elections. So thank you very much. And please appreciate them as they leave the podium.
No, really, actually appreciate them. Surely, put your hands together. Thank you so much. Thank you to each of our panelists and, of course, to our moderator, Justice Mavisi. Thank you very, very much. Now, I'll ask once again that you take photos as we do a changeover, sanitize the stage, and have ourselves ready for our next and our final panel for today. You know, I was listening to this conversation and a number of things that struck me. We can begin to normalize by repeating statements over and over again to the point where we agree that these things are in fact true. For example, women don't work together. True or false? True or false? Really? False. Really? Really? How many of you are in a chama? Even in the regions, I'm asking you. How many of you are in a chama? How many of you call on your sisters when things are thick? How many of you are still in touch with your classmates from school? Do a comparative, just an anecdotal comparative analysis with your male counterparts. The story that women do not collaborate. But we repeat it so often that we begin to believe that it is so, even while we are cooperating. How many of your mothers built water tanks because they came together and did table banking? And how successful have we been? I would like to postulate the following. That women are imbued with such a great energy that they will naturally use that energy in a positive or a negative way, just like any energy. And that therefore, when it comes to competition, we need to look at the areas where we can collaborate and work together. By the way, as I'm telling this story, we should be sanitizing the stage. Thank you so much. So, that repetition, women do not work together, women do not collaborate, women do not... Perhaps we need to check ourselves. There's a gentleman known as William Lynch, from which the word lynching comes. This word actually comes from this gentleman. A very famous, or infamous, as you would like it, slave owner. And this gentleman went and was invited by other slave owners to tell them what his successes were in keeping slaves and in ensuring that they didn't run away. And I want to share something that he apparently wrote to the Virginia slave owners, which was later captured in a book by Carter Godwin Woodson, known as The Miseducation of the Negro. It might upset you. Hold on tight. I will substitute the word man for woman, okay? If you can control a woman's thinking, you don't have to worry about her action. When you determine what a woman shall think, you don't even need to concern yourself about what she will do. If you make a woman feel that she is inferior, you don't have to compel her to accept an inferior status. For she will seek it herself. If you make a woman think that she is justly an outcast or not deserving, you don't have to order her to the back door. She will go without being told, and if there is no back door, her very nature will demand one. What are the stories about ourselves that we have agreed are our truth, that we need to interrogate? Because as long as we agree that somehow we are inferior, second class, or in some way children of a lesser God, we will find those back doors while we're begging for the front door as though we were not part of the construction ourselves. And not only that, we will take each other to the back door by reminding one another, by the way, you and I are the same, so can we move to the back, huh? Because we're both women. And where then there's an intersectionality of female, differently abled, young or perhaps very old, or perhaps poor, we will drag that one first. Why do I tell you this story? Because we keep repeating, women do not collaborate. Is our stage ready, by the way? Yes. Is the stage, I want a thumbs up when the stage is ready. For you in the regions, we're just waiting to sanitize everything, including the microphones. So let me suggest to you something else, if I may. That amongst the conversations we have are conversations with ourselves inside of our own heads, interrogating whose voice it is that we are holding brief for, who has rent in our own minds and in our own brains when we're saying things like, women can't, women shouldn't, women don't, women fill in the blank. We cannot play this game with the same rules that have been set because the rules are discriminatory anyways. If not in legislation, which they're not, then definitely in application. We have to be a little bit more creative, perhaps, as Dr. Collins was saying, especially because we're in a new dispensation. I love what the speaker said of fourth liberation. Our next panel, and our final panel. Sorry, are you highly offended now? Which is, or at least uncomfortable. I'm hoping that I have made you all very, very uncomfortable. If I haven't been very successful. Our last panel now is going to be moderated by our very own commissioner, Winnie Lichuma. Karibu. Please give her a round of applause as she comes up. And this 25-minute panel is on the 2/3 gender rule, moving the process forward. Karibu.
Good afternoon, and thank you, everyone. We are almost now coming to concluding the conference. So far, so good. We need to keep appreciating every small step that we make. Now, when we were putting together this program, we debated around the 2/3 gender rule. I know all feminists in this country are fatigued with the process of the 2/3 gender rule. Sometimes we feel we are almost getting there, and then we take 20 steps back. Now, to help me and help you make a stand in terms of the 2/3 gender rule, where we want to be or where we want to go, is a team of feminists that have worked for many years around these issues. And so join me in inviting Senior Counsel Joyce Majiwa, OGW, on the podium. Joyce, please step forward as I introduce you. She's a senior advocate of the High Court of Kenya, senior counsel, with over 25 years experience in legal practice and active participation in civil society. I believe that should be 35. Yes. Just read my CV. Joyce has provided leadership as the chairperson of FIDA and the national vice chairperson and founder member of the League of Kenya Women Voters. Joyce was a delegate to the convener of the Transitional and Consequential Arrangements Committee at the National Constitution Conference, which of course led to the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and which ushered in a greater protection of human rights, social justice, and inclusion. Currently, Joyce is the lead counsel representing Federation of Women Lawyers in the legal suit for realization of the 2/3 gender rule principle in Parliament. That means the National Assembly and the Senate. Joyce has a law degree from University of Nairobi and postgraduate diploma in gender and development studies from University of Nairobi and a master's in human rights from the University of Pretoria. Karibu sana, Joyce. Next, allow me to invite Honorable Commissioner Priscilla Nyokabi. Honorable Priscilla Nyokabi is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and the first county women member of parliament of Nyeri County between 2013 and 2017. Before joining parliament, Priscilla was the executive director of Kituo cha Sheria. She served as a deputy presiding officer Eastern Africa in the African Union Permanent Assembly of the Civil Society at the AU ECOSOC. She was Media Council of Kenya Complaints Commissioner. She was nominated top 40 under 40 women in Kenya in 2010 and 2011 by Nation Business Daily. During her stint in parliament, Honorable Nyokabi championed issues of women, human rights, and development. She served in various parliamentary committees, including Justice and Legal Affairs Committee as the Vice Chair, Budget and Appropriation Committee, House Business Committee, Chairperson of the caucus of the 47 women representatives, Kenya Women Parliamentary Association, KEWOPA, as the Executive Committee member, and Catholic MPs Forum as a member. Honorable Nyokabi is married and a mother of 2. Let's put our hands together. I like that last one. Okay. Now, we have the third panelist that is joining us online. I don't know if she's with us. Jill Guy. She's not here? Oh, she's not yet joined. She's not coming? Any information on Jill? She was online, but they're saying she's not joined. So Jill may join us, so we'll introduce her when she comes. But just to note that she has been a very strong supporter of the 2/3 gender rule, currently working for Katiba Institute, which she and her husband, Professor Guy, founded. Now, the question of the 2/3 gender rule is a dicey one. Having gotten the Constitution in 2010, one thought that it was quite obvious we have the gender equality principle in the Constitution, and it would have then meant that it's very easy to realize the 2/3 gender rule. But the reality, as we got onto the working table, we realized we had mixed issues within the Constitution framework, and we didn't have a framework on how to realize the 2/3 gender rule. The Honorable Attorney General then did move in 2012 to court to seek advisory opinion on how we proceed with the issue of the 2/3 gender rule. I'm happy that I was at the center of that debate and I've continued to remain at the center. One thing we regret to tell women of this country is that all efforts have been put together to ensure realization of Article 27, 6, and 8. Nevertheless, it is still a mirage. When we got the BBI process, which Honorable Commissioner Nyokabi here led, and I was mtu wa mkono huko nyuma, we kept pushing, thinking that the BBI was going to be that paper that becomes the white paper to give the 2/3 gender rule life. We have over 10 cases that have been filed in court seeking realization of the 2/3 gender rule. The BBI, again, the first constitution amendment bill that came out missed out on the 2/3 gender rule. And Nyokabi here had to intervene by the night and day to ensure that we got an amendment that now brought us the 2/3 gender rule. By the way we are going now with the court interpretation of the BBI, I think we have to take another step back to think through the process. 2022 is knocking. We still do not have a framework. Now, Joyce, I know you'll be very guarded because the matter is pending before a court of law. Being a senior counsel, I know you know how cleverly you can discuss the issue without necessarily going into the matters that are pending before court. Do you think we'll realize the two-third gender rule come 2022, Joyce?
Thank you very much, Winnie. Thank you very much, FIDA, for inviting me to this forum, and thank you for establishing this forum, because this forum is partly leading to that realization of the two-third gender principle. I had the benefit of listening to your chief guest yesterday, as she said that there are many ways of reaching this. We have to pursue each and every way and each and every avenue to get the two-third gender principle. You talked about me, Winnie, thank you very much. As for me, I'm already thinking of parity. I'm already thinking of 50-50. I'm already thinking of half. I'm already into that space where women and men are regarded as equal, having equal rights. So the two-third gender principle is on the way to parity. It is as if I left Kisumu and I was going to Nairobi, and I can see Nakuru in the horizon, but that's not my destination. I am still going to Nairobi. So I believe that there are ways of achieving the two-third gender principle. First, through legislation. Second, through mobilization. Third, through civic education. I realize that a lot of times we do things, but people don't know why are we doing it. If we mobilized as civil society, as government, because now government is on board and is the principal stakeholder, if we mobilized for voter to vote in this regard with the Constitution regarding the two-third, we will get the two-third gender principle. If we pass the legislation under Political Parties Act, as well as the Elections Act and IBC Act, that these are the prerequisites which have to happen before we go into the elections, then it will happen. In the 2017 elections, you notice that we could not achieve the two-third gender principle under the elections because there was no law. You bring in already less than two-third, you're not going to get the two-third. So we are more conscious, and we suggest that IEBC considers lists of two-third, which works, and I think Martha already, yesterday our chief guest already gave us the county-based principle of getting people in electable and winnable positions. We have to do civic education to tell people that it is not just about giving women work. It is about water, it is about food security, it's about personal security and safety, it's about non-violence. As we are today, we are in a crisis, but we don't care that we are in a crisis. The Chief Justice has written to the President to say that dissolve the Parliament because the Parliament is not properly constituted according to the gender principle. At the moment, we are ignoring this, but we don't know the repercussions of what will happen. Maybe people will start bringing litigations and say that when this law was passed, the Parliament was not properly constituted. Then we will have lost all that. So apart from doing civic education, we must tell people what it is that we stand to gain with this gender principle, which is development and all that immediate needs as well as strategic needs, plus what is it that we stand to lose if we do not pass the gender principle. So I would say that the efforts that have been made are good and commendable. The President has many times rallied Parliament to try and pass this law. The courts have done their bits, including ordering dissolution of Parliament. It is left for us now to decide, are we going to keep this state of affairs as a country, or are we going to vote in women to fulfill this part of the Constitution? And remember, we are always being told the Constitution is a negotiated document. There are those who negotiated the two-third gender principle. Where is their stake? There are those who negotiated the two-third gender principle. It was negotiated. Why is it being ignored if it was negotiated? Let me pose the question there and leave it like that.
Thank you, Joyce. Now, we hear you, and with a good plan on how we move forward. Has Jill joined? Okay, no. Now, Commissioner Honorable Nyokabi, the hunter becomes the hunted. Between you and me, when I was the chair of the Gender Commission, it was, Lichuma, you need to do ABCD. You were on the other side. Now you sit where I was, in the National Gender Equality Commission with the mandate of accountability. You know the hurdles you had while in Parliament, and now you are a commissioner with the responsibility to ensure the two-third gender rule is delivered. On the other hand, we have the Katiba Institute ruling that says political parties need to meet that. I had hoped that Professor Jill would have taken that question, but now you will need to respond to the two. Having exhausted all the domestic remedies, because within the constitution framework, the highest was the CJ give the president an advisory. It was done, and the executive have not made any move. Is it all lost? Where do we need to go with the two-third gender rule? Karibu.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to rejoin the conversations and to always be in these spaces. So really thanking FIDA for taking the time for this conference. Very well organized. I know a colleague who's in the Nakuru one. I was following online before I came over here, so quite a good space. So, and good timing, a year before the election in 2022. So thank you very much. On the NGEC, we are celebrating 10 years, and I'm happy that our former chair is here. So we are marking 10 years on Monday. We were published on 30th of August, 2011. So 30th of August 2021, we get to 10 years. And this 10 years is also the 10-year journey for the two-thirds. So we actually have documented the journey that the Commission has taken on the two-thirds, and would want to refer you to that publication because it has a lot of lessons and a lot of reasons as to why some of the formulas were picked for that matter. As soon as this is done, we are also looking at how to get involved in the next election. As far as the IEBC position is concerned in terms of ensuring that the party candidates lists are two-thirds compliant. But let me just go in terms of the positions or sort of the proposals that are on the table on resolving this and showing that it is not all lost. Political will is always necessary. And one of the things I have been happy serving as a commissioner is having been a former member of parliament. And so, because the two-thirds will have to be realized in a political space, and so politics then becomes very necessary, and the political will necessary for us to realize two-thirds is one of the things that we need to get back again. In terms of where we are moving, it's a bit like the COVID. I think we now have to go to third wave, because we've been in this journey for too long. We haven't succeeded, but we can't give up. So another thing is for us to put on our boots for the third wave and get down to the hard work. And the hard work is, for me, who really championed the BBI proposals and had a good occasion to actually sit on the negotiating table, to have negotiated for some of the proposals that we got on the BBI, which was going to fully implement the two-thirds gender rule. And the highest political will we have ever gotten for the two-thirds gender rule is demonstrated in the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill of 2020. The President and the Prime Minister both supporting from the front and leading the Parliament and political groups in supporting the two-thirds gender rule. And the reason I'm underscoring this is because some leaders in Kenya or some people have actually entertained the thought that it can be deleted. So when we started the constitutional review process discussions, there are some people who actually thought that this is also a good time to delete the two-thirds gender rule now that we are not able to implement it. So to just confirm here that the challenge is implementation. There is no question about deleting the two-thirds gender rule. We will fight until we one day implement it. And it was really, really a good time for me because it wasn't even now the women telling the men that this is for implementation. It was fellow men. In fact, one time, one really serious political leader came in and said, "Sahi ndio tuna delete 2/3." And you remember that warning, hii mkutano itaisha. Ukianza kuongea hivyo, hii mkutano itaisha. Na ukweli, mkutano iliisha over that matter of 2/3. It's really, really a lot of scores made. So we have to capitalize on that goodwill and political will that we have. And the political will that this is an unresolved matter. So even as BBI goes on to appeal, there is agreement across the country, and if you listen to the conversations of our political leaders, that this is an unfinished business. But it usually comes back to us for the proposals. So the 50-50 Senate that was proposed therein, I think is something that we still need to keep. The challenges around the women senators who are nominated is the challenge of voting. And we now have to get into a conversation not only on 2/3 in terms of numbers, but 2/3 in terms of quality and in terms of quality of representation. And I have seen, having served as a parliamentarian, if you are in parliament and you don't vote, your power to influence and cause decisions to change is really, really undermined. Women across the country are, for example, crying over resources for water. You would want Senate to prioritize resources for water. Senate will not prioritize resources for water for as long as the leaders who are supposed to go and do that do not have a vote. So the 50-50 Senate was actually nothing but giving women the power to vote. And the title Women Rep has actually turned out to be a bit of a disempowering title for women legislators. When you are in Nyeri, like for example myself, and you come into a place and say, wabunge na mama county, ama wabunge na mrembo wa county, wabunge na mtu mwingine hapo. Sasa, when you now come to real decision political power making, this mama county, mrembo county, sister county, you are not quite a member of parliament. And we need to sort out that problem. We don't need to have classes of members of parliament. When you go to parliament, you need to be an MP, and there is an agenda that has taken you there, and that is the agenda that you need to champion. So that was the benefit of the 50-50 Senate. Then House leadership, committees, all of those things are important. And I'm particularly keen myself on Article 43, with the rights of housing, water, food, women economic empowerment, are still things that we need to champion when we get to the Houses of Parliament. The National Assembly, we still need full top-up in the National Assembly with the numbers there. The 47 women reps do not satisfy the full requirement for 2/3 gender rule. And I'm hoping that as we also continue with these conversations, it gets clear what exactly 2/3 means. In earlier conversations, 2/3 was 34%. Like in the IEBC now, where we have gotten 2 commissioners out of 7, the mathematics was that it is 2.3, and so you round it off backwards to 2. That is wrong mathematics. The proper mathematics for 2/3 is no gender should exceed 66%. If any gender exceeds 66%, then 2/3 has not been achieved. And so even IEBC now remains under conversation as to achieving the 2/3 gender rule. So the full top-up, the list of candidates, the new hope for all of us here today, the new hope is the list of candidates and the list of party candidates as we go to the elections of 2022. And the excitement I have with this conversation is that now women can come out in large numbers to contest, because political parties will not go to elections unless they fulfill the 2/3 gender rule. If you're going to front 47 governors, you then must have 16 of them as women. If you're going to front 290 candidates for parliament, then you have to put in 97 women. So we have a lot of work to just get the women out there to come out and contest and to come out and seek to be in the party list. The only bit of issue there is what came out earlier on winnable seats and strongholds. And I like the formula that is county-based. But in parliament, when they used to tell us that Jubilee will put the women in the Nyanza list, where Jubilee has no votes, and ODM will equally put women of ODM in Central. I say, put me in the list of Nyanza. When I'm in Nyanza, nitajipangia huko Nyanza. You first put me on the list. That cannot be a threat. You put me on the list. On the list, I will sort myself out when I'm on the list. Because party tickets are extremely important. Our party primaries are really, really important. So that promise by IEBC, that is our first point of intervention. In any case, there's a court judgment that allows it. We have lost the opposite gender rule by the loss of the BBI, but we can make sure that every gubernatorial candidate runs with the person of the opposite gender. any governor candidate who's male runs with a woman, and any woman running for governor runs with a man, so that we try and bring in the opposite gender rule. The other conversation is an old bill that Senator Mutula and Senator Faria had, which was similar to the Duale bill. It featured a little during the CJ advisory, when the CJ gave the advisory on the Constitution of Parliament. So my view here, with also our rapporteurs, is that we go back to the bill by Senator Mutula and Senator Faria and try and make sure that that bill is passed before the end of this term of Parliament. It was already in Senate. It is a mature bill. It has done the 90 days, so it is available for voting in Parliament. Then there is a third option, which I also want to put on the table, which is an advisory by court. We are back full circle. I think Lichuma knows this. So we are back to 2012 with needing an advisory from the court on how to go to the 2022 election without opening the space in Parliament. The National Assembly space has not been opened, so that even if people are on the party list, that also doesn't guarantee that they will be voted. So the role of civic education that Joyce Majiwa spoke about. But I think that we might need, and there's a conversation around the need for an advisory as we prepare for the next election. The Supreme Court is now fully 2/3 compliant with the coming in of the new Chief Justice. So with a better constituted Supreme Court, maybe we might get a different answer this time round. So that matter of going to court is also now on the table, and FIDA has led us well together with NGC and other partners. So I think it is time to consider again going to court for that particular interpretation. Then the electoral laws, let me just finish on the electoral laws, because I had Elgia, I had Felix on it. And one of the laws that he didn't mention was the Article 100 law. This law, in Parliament, when a law is not moving, the language is that it has been put on ice. So this one was put on ice some times back. I think it is time to unfreeze it, the Article 100 law. The National Assembly passed it. It is before Senate. Our commission was able to put in a lot of recommendations. And the special interest group conversation that was earlier than ours, we need electoral colleges for persons with disability. We need to push that IEBC conducts electoral colleges for persons with disability so that they elect their own representatives before they get onto the party list. And so that Article 100 law is something that we need to get on the table. The campaign financing regulations are also very critical for special interests, and we might also need to push for a special fund for women candidates. It was there in the last Parliament, didn't quite make it, but made it up to second reading. But usually what happens with the law is that you're building political momentum for it. So the law, even if it comes and doesn't pass, you've built some momentum, you need to bring it back. So we need to bring back the law for the special fund. But then the rest of it is actually just women preparing to vie, the campaign strategies, and just being strong enough to vie for the seats that are available for the next election. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you once again for rounding up those issues. What I hear you say is, women, come out mujipange. Musipojipanga, mutapangwa. The law that would have been in your favor is not there. We are having 1 year to the election. Changes may come, but instead of waiting for the changes, what can be done now? Okay, now I'll open this for any questions and comments. Take me around the regions. Which region is ready? As we are checking the region, any question in the house? Honorable Mishi, karibu. Mombasa, or are you in Nairobi? Honorable Mishi, can you hear me? You have the floor.
Hello?
Yes?
Yes?
Mheshimiwa, you have the floor.
Floor. Thank you very much, and I want to apologize for joining a bit late. Actually, I was to join yesterday, but I had a very critical and very urgent meeting at the Parliament. And I really wanted to have the link. Unfortunately, I couldn't access the link. I was given the link today, and I said I have to join you because this is a very important meeting, especially during this time moment where we have started our campaigns. Although it's not officially, but people have already started putting some strategies and putting some plans and even sourcing for candidates. And I just want to thank Honorable Nyokabi for the good presentation, because she has really said what's happened in terms of the two-third gender role. And actually, our old hopes were in the BBI because we knew very well the formula was already there, and actually we could achieve that two-third gender role. But now that the BBI is not with us today, we need to come up with a different strategy to ensure that we will have women in the political position. And one thing which I think that we can take advantage of, it's right now we have the 47 women reps, who are the current women reps in the 47 counties. My suggestion would be these women, because they are holders of the affirmative position, and right now they've gotten some empowerment because they're in the parliament, they know about legislation, they understand about representation, the issue of oversight. They're now even empowered financially, maybe because right now, because they could afford to have something maybe for logistics in terms of campaigns and elections. And my advice would be these women now should go for other elected positions and leave this affirmative seat for other incoming aspirants, especially our women. For instance, I did the same. I was a women representative in the last parliament for Mombasa County, but I said this is an affirmative seat. Here today, I'm a bit empowered, even in terms of finances. Why can't I go another elected position? I fight even with men. Then I leave this other affirmative seat for another woman to come from my county. And that is what I did.
Thank you.
And I succeeded today. I have been elected from a single constituency. And we have another woman as a woman representative from Mombasa County.
Thank you.
So what I'm saying that those women who have affirmative seats, even for the people with disability, because right now in the parliament we have Honorable Denita Gatti, who was nominated by my party ODM. But right now she will go and vie for another elected position, that is the women representative for Migori County. So we are making sense, because today she cannot just rely because I am a disabled person, then I'll just remain to be given another nomination. That one cannot work.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Mheshimiwa, because of time, I will need to take it back. Is that okay? We have noted your point. Women need to get empowered and move on. So if time allows, we can come back to you. Sorry about that. Any other question from which center? Kisumu, you have the floor.
Honorable Mishi for being bold and putting on that challenge. Honorable Nerea from Homa Bay County Assembly. My question is to Commissioner Priscilla Nyokabi. Is there already a legislation drafted, in particular to compel IBC to enforce the two-third gender rule per county? And if there isn't, then I think there should be a petition coming out, and I want to sign it as the number one on that list, because that is so important for us to get the numbers necessary to balance leadership in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Nerea. Of course, we are relying on a court ruling. So for you, Nyokabi, you respond to that. Is that enforceable? How do we move with that? How do we compel IBC? Of course, they will say they will do it, but what powers do they have over political parties? You will come in on that. Any other side? Bungoma, you have the floor. Bungoma, you have the floor. Unmute.
The Executive Director, Elgon Center for Empowerment Network from Bungoma. I want to ask on how do you plan to bring up women from marginalized groups like the suburbs from Mount Elgon in Bungoma County and others? And two, what measures have you put in place to address the issues of elections-related gender violence for women going for political positions? Thank you.
Bungoma, next slide. Kisumu? No, Kisumu, you're done. Any other question on the chat? And now in this room, any last question, comments? Last question, comment? Okay, so Joyce, I want to give you the floor just to see if there's anything you can respond to and possibly give us your concluding remarks. 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I will agree with Ms. Mishi that part of the reason why these seats, the 47 seats were put, was that you sharpen your skills and then you go for elective positions. I think that was not put in the Constitution, but there was a debate around it during the constitutional review process. Even if it was not put in the Constitution, let us, as women, internalize it and make it something that is operational within us. So I do agree with you, Mishi. From Kisumu, there's no legislation that is drafted that IBC must comply with the 2/3 at county level. But there is already judge-made law, as Winnie has said, that says that you must, in your party list, have 2/3 gender principle. Because how else are we going to reach the 2/3 gender principles if the parties themselves that must submit the list do not fulfill that? So that is already judgment-made law, and we are watching keenly to see that IEBC observes this. With regard to marginalized groups and measures for GBV, I think all of us, it behoves all of us. I'm going to speak to this because it behoves all of us to start civic education around no gender-based violence in elections, and to ensure that even the party list, as we are saying, women should be there. What about marginalized women? Women are in different categories. And many, we can't just say women. They are marginalized women. There are women who are disadvantaged in various different ways. And then there are those who are marginalized in other ways. So we have to, when we are talking about party lists, let's also enforce and make sure that women in their categories are represented and going to parliament. And now you asked me for my parting shot. And I think something that has come out throughout this conference is the issue of patriarchy. I think Renee mentioned it, and I'm one of the people who are angry about the message that women have gotten in a patriarchal society. A lot of times when women are called to speak, let me just start by saying everybody has an opinion on everything. And nobody's opinion is wrong or right. So get up and speak your opinion. But we have been told that somehow the women's opinion is wrong, and we can start that at personal level to change that. Say your piece. Even if you think it's scared, you think it's wrong or what, say your piece and let the world judge you for your piece. Don't sit with your piece inside you, because it is the cleverest piece. In fact, I hold that the reason why we're underdeveloped is women's pieces are dying with them. Get up and say your piece, women.
Thank you. Now I want to bring you, Commissioner, and you have another question for you to add on the ones you had. An online participant is asking to Commissioner, how is the upcoming 2/3 gender rule implemented to ensure women with disabilities are not left behind? Because if the fallback position is we have Article 90. My own interpretation of Article 90 has been that even the electoral college you're talking about can still be implemented through that Article 90. So we are leaving this to political parties. Has IBC given us a clear-cut way in terms of intersectionality of women when we get political parties giving us women? Because women are not homogeneous. We have women with disabilities. We have young women. We have women from marginalized communities. So the online participant wishes to know how this will ensure that women with disabilities are not left behind. Karibu.
Thank you so much. Let me just start also from because the idea with Mishi was that position that Once women are on a special seat, I think there should be some rotation so that we have a big pool of women leaders who are available for politics. So I think that should indeed be the case. Even for someone like myself who's reflecting on going back, it is really clear to my mind that I couldn't go back to a women rep seat. That would be wrong for Nyeri. I would have to go to a competitive seat. Nimeshaiva. So that we have a bigger pool of women leaders from which to pick from. And once you get an opportunity, then you have to leave that space for other people. So that should be the way that it is. The other thing is the legislation, the question by Nerea. And the question by Nerea was on whether there is a law backing the 2/3 party candidates list and having it based on counties. In the last election, the last electoral season, when I was Vice Chair JLAC, we actually did bring in elections amendments, and this was one of the positions that we had taken, having worked, you remember, Lichuma, we used to have the 2/3 amendments, so this was one of the amendments. So I think that this particular amendment needs to come back now for the Elections Act to be amended to contain this principle and to contain the guidelines and to contain the obligations around parties. Because court orders are good, it's just that you need to detail the obligations in law in a little bit sufficient enough for the implementers, both the political parties and the IEBC. So that might be something to look out for, statutory law, and might also need to be one of our recommendations here, that the Elections Act is amended to contain the matters that relate to the party list, including that particular party list is county-based. There is some fair amount of resistance on that position. So we would have to be ready to meet the opposition, because even in Parliament, we couldn't marshal it then at the time. On the GBV, but let me say this, with or without that amendment, I think that since the IBC has already pronounced itself on the obligations around the entire list, because if you look at the BBI, the proposal was for the entire list, that if you have 290 candidates, then you make sure that 97 are women. It was not county-based at the time. But I was just telling Joyce when we were chatting there that women also have to be in political parties. Strongholds are very important in political parties. So some things will be given by law, but some things have also to be fought for on the negotiation table of political parties. But let us pursue a statutory law amendment. And statutory law, I think there will be some minimum statutory law amendments before the next election. This needs to be part of them in terms of the bills that go to Parliament very quickly for the elections. The GBV, we are following very much at the Commission, the Polycare, the police one-stop center for both medical and legal and psychosocial, actually for all the three, and psychosocial support in one stop. The pilot center is at the Nairobi area, and we are following that this particular model is used for the purposes of SGBV. And so one other point of conversation is the preparation for the security sector to handle GBV in our electoral cycle. And our GBV is real, it is physical violence. Having participated in elections, I think that we should have very, very clear message around physical violence, that there cannot be physical violence in our electoral system, and we have to work with the political parties and we have to work with the security sector on that matter. But we now have cyberbullying, we have a lot of violence on the cyber, and we have a lot of other forms of violence, including psychological violence. I think that we still need to have strategies of fighting with that. In the elections in the past, we've had a situation room helping to monitor violence, and these are some of the roles of the civil society to just ensure that the women candidates, who we want to have in numbers, do not suffer violence, and if they suffer violence, reporting and redress of that violence needs to be something that we are ready for.
1 minute, Commissioner.
The PWDs, or persons with disability, that is a good question. We have at the Commission reflected on having guidelines with the IEBC on matters of PWDs. And the reason is this: 17 counties now do not have a representative of persons with disability, despite the law requiring 1 man and 1 woman to sit in county assemblies to represent PWDs. 10 counties have 2, and 20 counties have only 1 representative, which for us is usually not good because sometimes the one turns out to be the man. So this area of disability is something that we need to have better guidance and better guidelines from the IEBC as we go into the election. So that's an area that we have to look into. For the intersectionality, on the 2/3 top-up and nomination, I think that the discussion has been, because we want more women to vie, I think that the nomination lists now should start to have the names of those who tried to vie. What we were calling it best loser principle. That you first try to vie, you put a good effort, and if you don't make it, those are the people who should be considered for nomination. And some of those people then should be women with disability and also young women, the purple zebra as we call it. So I hope that this is not the last conversation by FIDA. There is still so much unpacking that has to be done, because what I have seen myself with the political class, even when they have goodwill on a matter, they don't bring up the proposals, they don't bring up the bills, they don't bring up the guidelines. We have to do all of that work ourselves, especially those of us who are interested in these matters. So it is up to us here. And there are no other people in this room. Sometimes you think that we are many doing 2/3. You actually find, I think, the 3 of us here plus maybe another 10 are the only ones who are doing, plus the FIDA director and a few others. So we have to get back the energy, and that's my parting shot. Winnie, we need new energy. We cannot get fatigued on this journey. We have to put on our boots and we have to fight to just see how far we can push this debate ahead of the next election. We have already missed the conversation around opposite gender rule for the president and deputy president. Countries near us, Tanzania achieved it, Ethiopia has achieved it. I think that we here in Kenya should be able to push it to that level as well. So aluta continua, kazi bado ni mengi.
Thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking the panelists. A round of applause for them. Really, that is bringing us to the closure of the panels. Thank you, my panelists, for giving us that message to close us out. So in essence, what they are telling us, women, if you are listening to me, there is no guarantee that you will get to make the 2/3 gender rule through nomination in parliament. Therefore, capacity building, wakati ni sasa, kauli mbiu ni moja, vote adada. If you don't vote women, they have no room. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause for our panelists and for our moderators. I'll ask you, as usual, to come to the front and take a photo. I think, ladies and gentlemen, there's another round of applause. Do you know, for the last 2 days, there are 2 people who have been continuously talking. Winnie Adoyo and Flora Atieno. Whenever someone speaks, they must speak too. So let's celebrate them as well. Excellent, thank you so much. Now, at this point, I think we're going into the counties and really to celebrate the counties. What an amazing and really revolutionary meeting this has been over the last 2 days. Wakati ni sasa. Sio sasa, kama sio sasa ni? Sasa hivi. Kauli mbiu ni? There you go. Let it be known, our voices are very, very loud indeed. And right now, without further ado, as you know, this is the point at which we read out our statement. And because we're not just about some, we're about all, and about inclusivity, I'm going to call out various representatives from the regions. Truly, all of our moderators and all the people who have been in the regions, we want to appreciate you for being with us, for making this happen, for coming together, for staying together, for really being part of this conversation. And so in reading the statement, I know that you now have it. We'll start off with, from Bungoma, Caroline and Dalila. If you've got your part of the statement, please begin, and I'll call out each of the regions and each of the names of the sisters who will be reading out this statement that is coming out of the 2021 Women Leadership Conference on the 27th of August, the date of the 11th anniversary of the promulgation of the Constitution. Please, Madam Dalila.
I'm Kebo Patricia Nyanga, MCA aspirant to Kana County, Takwel Ward. On 27 August 2010, Kenya promulgated a new constitutional dispensation. This was hailed as the most progressive and most modern instrument in the continent. It was also a symbol of a long and winding struggle for a new constitutional order. Most importantly, it was symbolically progressive in that there were real articulations that recognized women's rights as human rights. The Constitution 2010 recognizes the dignity, economic, social, and cultural rights, including the rights to education, housing, and rights to health, including reproductive health care. The principle of equality and non-discrimination is established as a core value of leadership. The national values and principles of governance include human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination, and protection of marginalized groups, among others.
Thank you so much, Bungoma. Nakuru.
Thank you.
Nakuru, I think the next part is for you.
They gave me Ali.
Women and men have the right to equal treatment, including
Nakuru, we're struggling to hear you. Perhaps you can start again.
including the right to equal opportunities in the political, economic, cultural, and social spheres. So both direct and indirect discrimination is forbidden. Article 27 mandates the state which is expected to take the legislative and other measures, including affirmative action, programs and policies designed to redress any disadvantage suffered by individuals or groups because of the past discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nakuru. Meru. Meru. Please unmute.
Hi.
Daktari.
My name is Dr. Josephine Kulea, and I am an aspirant women Samburu County for women rep position, and I read the statement on behalf of the Meru team. The provision further states, the state shall take legislative and other measures to implement the principle that no more than 2/3 of members of elective bodies shall be of the same gender. The attempt to ensure that the country implements the constitutional provisions has failed 4 times in Parliament through legislation. These issues have also been exhaustively litigated upon 2 times in court, up to the Supreme Court, that finally resulted in the CJ Maraga's advisory in 2020, which declared the current Parliament as unconstitutional. We therefore must ask ourselves why we still live in an unconstitutionality and seek a way forward. The 2021 Women Leadership Forum was geared towards initiating the dialogue towards achieving the constitutionally minimum of 2/3 in elective and appointive positions in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next one is Nairobi.
Nairobi.
Go ahead.
Nairobi B. My name is Cynthia Mutere, a member of the County Assembly of Busia, aspiring to be the woman representative for Busia County. I read on behalf of Nairobi B. We insist that political parties take measures to prioritize the selection and nomination of women in winnable elective positions, beginning with the ward level seats across the country, and fair allocation of party nomination certificates per county to achieve the 2/3 gender rule. We call upon the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties to enforce gender and inclusion provisions in the Constitution by fully implementing the Political Parties Act, including activating the deregistration procedures under the Act for political parties.
Thank you very much. Mombasa. Mombasa.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Magdalene Tuva, an aspiring MP Kilifi South. On behalf of Mombasa, we are saying hi. Hi, everyone. We demand that the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of Government, together with the National Police Service, ensure that women political aspirants are secured during the elections campaign period and election. We demand that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission implement its party nominations guidelines in strictly compliance with constitutional provisions on gender equality and inclusivity in full and in the spirit as well as the letter of the law. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mombasa. Kisumu. Kisumu, please unmute.
Thank you. My name is Nerea Okech, aspirant and activist from Homa Bay County. We caution the media to ensure fair and gender-sensitive coverage of women politicians and political aspirants by upholding the democratic and ethical principles of accountability, fairness, and objectivity. We call upon the civil society organizations to be vigilant, alert, and document any electoral malpractice and illegalities that might present themselves during campaign and at election for increased accountability for the whole electoral system. We urge the citizens of Kenya to be ready to fight, demand, and participate in free, fair, and secure elections that are inclusive and peaceful. Vote Adada.
Thank you so very much. What is the theme going forward, ladies and gentlemen? Vote Adada. That's exactly it. Thank you. And now I want to appreciate and welcome each of the regions to give a vote of thanks as we now go into our final session. And so I will call Bungoma back for your vote of thanks. Bungoma, karibuni. Kindly unmute. Go ahead, Bungoma.
Transforming Youngsters of Africa is a force for development organization.
Bungoma, I'm going to ask you to start again with your vote of thanks. We're having a bit of a sound challenge, and we know that you're so powerful as a speaker, we don't want to lose anything. So forgive us and press rewind kidogo tu, and then we start again.
My name is Dalila Caroline, conferencing live from Bungoma County. We are sending our vote of thanks to FIDA Kenya and put their energy together and synergy to make this conference a success. It has been it has builded us, it has molded us differently. Our thinking has changed. I'm very happy, and we are all passionate about politics. We are getting out of this door very capacity builded and mentored fully. and our slogan is vote Adada. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. And we appreciate you having been here too. Nakuru, for your vote of thanks.
Nakuru. My name is Emcee Renee, Nakuru County. My name is Emcee Renee, Nakuru County. First and foremost, I want to appreciate the women across the Rift Valley, across the region who came to conference with us for 2 days. We really appreciate it. We thank FIDA for what we have achieved. And we really want to tell you to don't sleep, to go on moving on, to empower the women. And our slogan has started today, vote Adada. There we are.
Thank you, and thank you to all the women who have traveled through the Great North Rift to be here with us in Nakuru. Meru.
County Women MP. I have not have much say than what the women have said already. This was our silent voice that has been answered in this conference today. We've been missing this voice, and for sure, FIDA has done the best today that have answered our silence for a long time. I'm proud of you, FIDA, and I'm saying thank you very much, and thanks and hands to the county level so that at least we will keep being proud of you. Thank you very much, and our slogan is vote Adada.
Vote Adada indeed. Thank you so much, Meru. Nairobi. Go ahead, Nairobi.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Judy Makera. I am an aspirant for the Keharo parliamentary seat. And on behalf of all the participants, and particularly from Pridane, that is Nairobi Bay, I wish to thank FIDA for this session that they have given us. Indeed, when we came, we had very gray areas, but we are going out there confident. We are going out there to spread the gospel. We are going out there to shout to everyone that this is a time for women. So from here, Pridane, we are going out in one accord. Voter. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Mombasa.
Naitwa Makrina Mwamburi kwa niaba ya wamama wote wa mkoa wa Pwani. Napenda kushukuru sana shirika la FIDA kwa kuandaa kongamano hili la kina mama ili tuwezeshe na tuweze kupata hizi nafasi, na kina mama tukishikana kwa pamoja tunaweza kuanzia national to county level. Vote Adada.
Asanteni kutoka Pwani. Kisumu.
Thank you very much. My name is Honorable Sally Okudo. I'm the area MCA for Central Semi Ward in Semi Sub-County. Today, first of all, we want to thank the lady or whoever composed the song, Vote Adada. I mean, that song just killed it for us. It resonated with the theme of this conference, and we love the person who sang it because together we are saying we have to vote Adada. I would also like to thank FIDA and all the partners who came on board to make this day happen. We really don't take it for granted that the hard work that you guys came together to actually have this day happen. We are just so grateful, and we're very, very blessed. We also we want to give or share the sentiments echoed by Honorable Nyop Kabi and Honorable Mishin Boko. We are saying that we want more women elected. We have the affirmative seat, and we are together saying and echoing the sentiments that they came and shared, that the seat, we have 7 women already. Let them move up, go to governors or go to MP positions, and let other women come and occupy this, the seat of the women rep, so that we can have a lot of women coming on board and being elected. So for that, for us here in Kisumu, we are also saying, kauli mbiu ni moja, vote edada. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much. A round of applause, really, for all of the regions, for each one of us. Well done. And now it is my great pleasure to invite onto the stage the Secretary to the Board of FIDA, Ms. Christine Kongo, to give a vote of thanks on behalf of FIDA, and on my part to say it has been such an honor to have served the women of Kenya in this day, in this way, in these 2 days. One day we will look back on these 2 days and we will say we changed history and brought on the third wave and the fourth liberation.
Good afternoon, ladies. To our chief guest, Honorable Martha Wangari Karua, Chairperson Kewopa, Honorable Mudhoni wa Mushomba, Chairperson Maendeleo ya Wanawake, Mrs. Rahab Muia, FIDA Kenya Development Partners, Womankind Worldwide, the Swiss Embassy, the Ford Foundation, Diaconia, the Danish Embassy, and the UN Women, members of Parliament and members of the county assemblies, FIDA Kenya board led by our very able Madam President Nancy Ikinu and FIDA members, representatives from civil societies organization, our consortium partners, Women Challenge to Challenge WCC, our women rights organization partners from across the country, our delegates and aspirants in all our 6 sites in Greenvale, Hotel Bungoma, in Grand Royal Swiss, Kisumu, my home county, Habari yenu huko, in Pride Hotel Azure, Nairobi, in Alba Hotel Meru, in Pride Hotel Shanzu, Mombasa, and Sarova Woodlands Hotel, Nakuru. Sefu Sani, our artist behind the Vote Adada Anthem, we salute you, madam. Our online participants on Zoom, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, all esteemed panelists from yesterday and today, some who are still with us in the room, and we are really, really appreciative that they're still here today, and some are joining us virtually. Our partners in hosting the event, AJ Communication, led by Anthony and his team in all the 6 sites together with the members of the 4th Estate. The FIDA Secretariat staff, led by our very able Executive Director, Annie Reri and Wanjiru Commander, and all the Secretariat staff who have worked tirelessly towards this conference. To our hosts, the Radisson Blue Hotel, our sign language interpreters, Flora Atieno and Winnie Adoyo, our fantastic moderators, Commissioner Winnie Lichuma, and retired Judge Violet Mavisi, and not forgetting our very amazing, the one and only Emcee Renee Ngamau. Thank you very, very much. I wish I could say thank you in the various languages where we are hosting our participants today, but because I'm not able to, let me just say asanteni, sana, nasana, nasana. Ladies, we now wish to close this particular conference, but before that, I wish to call our chair, Madam Ikinu. Madam Ikinu, please come on board. Madam Ikinu will be presenting gifts to the first will be the sign language interpreters. Please come on board, Winnie and Flora. We will present them with some nice gifts. Please let's clap for them as they come. They have done a fantastic job. Okay, thank you very much. Let's give our clap. Then I wish to now call on board our moderators for the 2 days, Commissioner Winnie Lichuma and retired Judge Mavisi. Please come on board. We salute you. We thank you very much for the role you played today. And there are also our senior members, we can see, very senior feeder members who have moderated the 2 sessions. Let's give them a clap as they get their gifts. Let's give our clap. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the work you've done for the last 2 days. Finally, I wish to call our Emcee Renee. Please come on board. We also have something for you. Let's give her a clap for the wonderful, wonderful work she's done.
I need that song to be playing while I come on stage. That Vota Dada.
She wants the song played, so can we have our... Okay. All right. By public demand, she's coming on board. There's a microphone right there.
Women must be bold and ask for what they want. I want to vote a dada.
Yes, yes, and it's coming right up. Renee. Okay. All right.
Do you want to stand and sing the song with me? They play it on the back. Then we'll clap our hands. Wamama msilale, wakati wetu umefika, wanawake msilale. Wamama msilale, wakati wetu umefika, wanawake msilale. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let's give her a clap.
Leadership to rise. Women from the national and county levels. Young, old, minority and marginalized women. Women with disabilities. Women in the grassroots. Wakati ni sasa. Kauli ni moja. Vote adada. Tuungane pamoja, kauli mbiu moja, wakati ni sasa. Vota
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I was not supposed to speak. The bosses have closed the meeting. But mine is to thank all of you on behalf of FIDA Kenya, as has been stated, to pray for journey mercies. I know a number of us will be traveling to our homes after this, and to wish us a beautiful lunch. Lunch is served, so wherever you are, please make sure the FIDA Kenya Secretariat have given you a lunch voucher to be able to enjoy lunch. So asanteni sana. Mungu awabariki. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless Kenya and vote Adada. Thank you.
The time has come for women leadership to rise. Women from the national and county levels. Young, old, minority and marginalized women. Women with disabilities. Women in the grassroots. Wakati ni sasa. Kauli ni moja. Vote Adada. Tuungane pamoja, kauli mbiu moja, wakati ni sasa. Vota dada, tuungane pamoja, kauli mbiu moja, wakati ni sasa. Vota dada.